guys, hello again. What I've got a pre-stretched canvas and I primed it with black gesso everywhere. Let that dry completely. Then once that's dried, I've just put a thin even coat of purified linseed oil all over the canvas. Tiniest of amounts. A small amount goes a long way with that stuff. And then what I've done is I've mixed up some colours on my palette. Bluey purpley tone colour, and a more lavender, and got some white out here. So we'll run the colours across the screen for you all that you need to paint along with us on this, and let's go for it. So I've just got some straight titanium white on my 1 1/4 inch brush. Just on the horizon in here, I wanted the brightest area to be around here, so I always start in the brightest area at first and then blend outwardly from that. So I'm just going to blend that from one side to the other, just using what white's on there, and it should get slightly darker as it goes over to your right, just like over in here. You can get a bit of a fresh load on that. Go back into the bright area a bit more. Getting a bit more white, because I want that to be the brightest part, the most sparkly area just in there. And then from that, I'm just going to feather edge using crisscross strokes, little tiny crisscross strokes, like I've been teaching you all to use. Just use that all the way along the horizon there, and bring it up a little bit as well into that colour, just in there. So just up above that, I can add some more, just what's left on the bristles really. Just across the top edge, and then just down in here, and just blend that up a bit further too, on either side. So you see it's picking up the colour from underneath that's on the canvas, just up in here. That's the effect that we're after. Keep blending away with this. I'm going to use a fresh load of white, quite a lot of it. Now I know, and I can gauge how much I need. I can just go in there and just make that zing. Now I know the point where the colour starts. I can do this. Just brighten it up along these edges. Do this all the way along again to about there. And then I can go back in. Blend that out. Because that wants to blend from dark to light now, just in here. Brightest part, just in there. Blend that right on there. That's good. I'm using quite a heavy stroke at the moment, just so that I can get the paint to settle how I want it to. Nice, and then just in between the light area, and up in here, I want to add some more colour. Oh, that's it, more like it. don't want to see where this darker colour starts and where this lighter colour stops. You want to blend in between them two nicely. Just bringing it down a bit into there. And that top edge just blend out nicely. Just a lovely glow in the sky above where we're going to have our city. And we're going to have it all reflected into the water. Beautiful lights from the city and that. Looking forward to doing this, I have. I've been really looking forward to doing it. So here we are. I'm just going to blend in here a bit more. Just in between them two. Where the lighter part is. Blend right into that, pick up some of that light tone. That's good. And then we can come back with a softer, more gentle blender brush afterwards. There. Something like that is what I'm after. And then I can just use whatever's remaining on my brush. Just indicate some bits of light going on in there. Blend that together. It's really dark, it's more or less black up at the top. Notice when you're picking this darker colour up that you get lighter parts, darker parts, and that's what you want. Don't want to have it all just flat, the sky. So I put the tiniest amount on, and you can see there, just that little bit of white. It's all that's needed to really make that sky zing. See a little bit of paint on the side there. Just use a bit of that just up on there. Now I can use the crisscross strokes to blend it and allow it to get quite dark over here. No clouds on this one. I don't want nothing to detract from the city that I'm going to be painting. Also, the city itself is going to take a long time, quite a bit of time to do. There's going to be quite a bit of detail in there, I should think, but it's one that I'm really willing to spend the extra time and effort doing. Well worth it for the effect. Try to get this sky done first. Bit of light just up in there, you can blend that out. Put the darkest area just at the very top. Same in there, tiny bit of white. Just give you that blue tinge. Right. Now, just going to use a different brush for blending again. In fact, while I've got that colour on there, I've got a lot of colour on the brush, but if I go straight into titanium white, again on it, I'll probably get away with just doing this centre part one more time for the glow. Now we've blended the rest of it in nicely, probably get away with this. There. The idea is to not have too much oil paint on the canvas, because if you do, it makes your life really difficult. There. Something like that, that's more like what I wanted. I'm happy. It's easy to drag too much of the blue down as well, so you've got to be careful of how far you come. Same in this area too. Right, I'm just going to come across now with my blender brush, soft blender brush. I'm just going to blend that softly. Start in the light area actually. Just soften it. Go right across the whole thing, very gently, just to soften it off, make it blend nicely together. Actually, go back again, just in here needs blending a bit more. Just a bit of fine tuning here and there. It's nice. And again, and like I said, just gently blend over that. Really gently. Up in here. Just going to blend it out a bit softer again. And that way you can get a really nice soft. Hi everyone, back to this painting. So basically the lavender colour that I mixed for the sky, just in the dark form, without any light colour added to it, just put it on the brush, both sides. Just up in here, I want to have two big buildings. So I'm just going to indicate these big buildings by just going in like so and pulling down with that. Doesn't have to be perfectly straight because I'm going to go back in with the palette knife afterwards. That paint underneath is still a little bit wet as well. So I should have really waited for it to dry. I didn't have the opportunity. I wanted to get painting again on it. Just paint that down there. So just a basic shape like so. I'll neaten that with a palette knife afterwards. There. The same again. I've got another one just in here. Don't worry about if you get any lines or anything, you know, on the edges, because that's just going to look like little effects. And we're going to paint things in between too. Lots of buildings in here for it to get some of that dark colour in there. That's it. Now I'm going to switch brushes to this one. So we've got a few that are a bit smaller. Use both sides of that. Just over in here, got one. Comes down about there. You might want to put a little bit of thinner with this if you want, but I don't mind. Like I say, I'm going to go back in again with some with the palette knife anyway, so it's not too relevant for me. Now we've got a big one over in here, big tall one. Sharpen off all these edges with the palette knife, no problem. In fact, it's a lot bigger than I've done it. Better size. And it's actually got a pointy roof. I'm just painting the dark in. One in here that's just a bit thinner, a bit smaller. It's not as wide. Do that with just that. And this has a little pointy top too. Something like so. Again, you're going to use a palette knife a lot in this. I'm going to put some smaller ones down in here, a bit thinner. When you're using this brush as well, it really helps because it's like the sharp point at the top gives you the buildings that have got a little peak on them, a little pointy top to them, and it does that straight away. See that in there? There we go. Reload a fresh load of paint. That'll give you nice sharp edges for what you're doing. Sometimes I have a tendency of growing on you a bit to these, because if you get it wrong, all you have to do is make it a bit bigger. Making them slightly smaller than I want them to be, knowing that that's the case. There's another building here that's a bit bigger. Still got a slopey roof to it. Top, sort that roof out with the knife, no problem. Just gonna pop some of that dark in there. Sometimes just doing that and picking up a bit of that light colour. See that? Just pick up some of that light colour, and you can put some indications, some that's sitting way off in the distance. Some buildings that are far, far away in the background behind. Trying to get it so that it's giving me a nice top to them. These are just some indications of some buildings that are a little bit further away. So really play with this, make them nice and fuzzy, soft in the background. And then in here I can just paint that in dark in front of that. Things going on just at the base, down in there. Paint across. So it's about creating that depth that you've got in there. Little intentional marks to make it so that these sit behind. That's good. Now I've got a few more smaller ones just in here as well. Natural now, I can just come back in here and again allow it to just show some stuff going on in the background. I want to get a bit of white to that, a bit of white in with it. added a little bit of white to that, just to lighten it a bit. Didn't want it quite as dark. Sweet. And so on and so forth, backwards and forwards between the two. Some buildings are going to be more square, just like these two. Didn't want it quite as dark as that. Just put a bit of light down into it. There. Something like that. Probably cover part of that up anyway. I want these to be nice and soft. They don't need to be as dark as the ones on the edge, the fillers. Very blue is just going to add a bit of black to it. What I meant by they grow on you. Start off at one size and get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's not no problem whatsoever. By doing that, you can create little buildings. I'll put one. So just by using the squared corners, you can go down, create all these little buildings. A lot of them's going to have really bright lights on them. Somewhere near. Just want to sharpen edges up of these roofs. You do it with just a knife, but I'm going to try and do it with this brush instead. Try that for size. Just had a good look at what I'm doing, and I've definitely made them a bit too small, need to be bigger. So I know that this one slopes slightly towards there, like that. And then it goes down. Just going to make it bigger, more substantial. Either side. Oh, bugger. I just went a bit too high then. It's not a problem. this one's a bit bigger. It needs to be taller. I like the width of it. Happy with that. Just needed to be taller. Always neating the edges off with the palette knife when you come in later. There's no problems with that. Basically all the way along here we've got buildings that are lit up, which are closer than all the background ones, so I'm just going to put all them in first. And then we'll create some lights and stuff down here too. So this minute I'm just going to get some white, and I'm just going to put a few little background ones in just in here. Keep them going straight down all the way. A few darker ones and bigger ones just on the edges. And straight darks again. You can put stuff in front of that, little buildings and stuff. See, just in there. I hope that stands out to you all. It's these little things that you do that really make your picture, make it special. And then just put one in there, that'll be good. like Leaning Tower of Pisa, that was. Sweet. Happy with how it's going. A lot of these smaller ones will be lit up, properly lit up, really well. What you can also do is you can use the light, say just up in here, you can actually use the light, touch it into there, just like so. What you're doing is you're creating a whole other layer by doing this. We'll do it up to there. Leave the dark behind. So let's just create a whole new layer. You've got these in the background and these are all closer. So you can do that everywhere. You can do it all over. Like just in here. Just use some of that. Looks like little bits of uplighting, and then you've got different layers there. What you can also do is go back with your darks and you can just go in there and put little buildings and stuff in front. For instance, I'm going to put this one here in front of this, just by simply putting some buildings shadowed in that area. Puts that in front of that. I just love it. Playing with illusions, basically creating illusions, three-dimensional illusions. Just darken that off a bit. Okay. And that's how you start to get your depth in your city, by doing these little things. Just wanted to give you a view of it from the front so you get an idea of where I'm at, and I will see you all again soon. Right guys, because it's so difficult for you all to see it, I want to make it brighter. Just in this area where I'm wanting to create the layers, you see, you can see it it stands out quite a bit from here, but I want to put more uplighting in as well, which will be like yellows and reds and stuff like that. I'm just going to go over that now and brighten it up a bit so that you guys can make it out better. The separation between the layers is quite important. It's an important part. Just pulling up with the white. Always from the bottom upwards. Like so. It creates a nice misty effect. And you also get the uplights, which I'll be able to put over the top of this, which will be yellows and reds and purples and all sorts of beautiful colours. Do that a bit further on as well. So I'll do it to there. I can mix this up and make it so that it has more layers than this even. This is just a little bit of something I wanted to do. Just blend that up to nothing. And as you start to touch some of this colour that you've got up in here, it actually comes down then back into what you've just... Hi everyone, you can see what I've got going on. I've been doing all these buildings and spent some real time doing them, so what I want to do is I just want to show you how I've been doing them right now. So I've got a silver paint, which is an oil based paint, silver. So I'm just going to get some of that first on the brush there. Now I need some of the lavender mixture, so I'm mixing the lavender with crimson and blue, alizarin crimson and blue together, bit of the red as well, a bit of bright red with that, so it's just a dark tone. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a tiny bit of that on here because you need shadows when you do this, so I'm just going to put a little bit of that in there, not a lot, you don't need a lot, just a little bit, just enough for it to give some shadows. So I'll put that down now, clean the brush off, and I'm just going to use this little brush here now for this. So I'm going to get the silver, both sides of a smallish brush, it's not a big brush, and with that I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to create a top for this, just with the silver and the colour underneath. It's a bit to the red side is that blue, that lavender, so because it's a bit too much to the red side, I'm going to apply a load more blue into that and see if that'll help the tone of that. Just a little bit, we'll see, but that was not like what I'm after. So the silver, just in there with that. I love using silvers though and metallics for stuff like this because it really works. Because they're oil based as well, you can get away with using stuff that they use for cars and things like that, you know, for touching up. Sometimes you get them for the wheels, for touching up alloy wheels and stuff. Get them from any car shop. Now I'll put a different tinge on this, with it being a little bit more to the red side. It doesn't really matter. And then just down there, this is the opposite on this one. It's going to have a shadow on the right hand side. So on this left hand side here, it's just the silver mixed with what's on there. So I've just brought that down a bit. At the bottom, because I've got this blue colour, can you see it there? I just want to blend that down and allow it to just blend off into that blue colour, basically. And don't worry about getting it perfect straight away, because you can always go back in. We always do end up going back in anyway with the knife. Do this side. Now I know there's going to be a dark shadow like these here on this right hand side, so I've got a bit too far with it. It's not a problem. I'm just going to bring it down and leave that shadow just about there. Again, it doesn't matter if you're perfect with this. It's irrelevant because we've got to go back in anyway. And then I just want to leave that dark area in the centre. Something like that. Sometimes you'll find it mixes a little bit too much with the colour you've put underneath. But that's not a problem, because all you do is just let it dry for a bit. These dry within about an hour and a half. So you can just go off, have a coffee or something. And then when you come back, it should be perfect. But yeah, that's basically it for that part. You get the silver on there. Right, so now I'm just going to get the knife. I'm going to start doing some knife work. I love painting these though, I really do, because you get a good chance to use the knife plenty of times. And I really enjoy using knife when I'm painting. So blue, crimson and red into there. That's my base colour again. Same colour I used for the underpainting, basically, but it's just dark. I'll show you that so you can see. Just good and dark is that colour. Crimson, blue and a little bit of black. There we go. Now with that, just pop it to one side. I just want to pull a little ridge of paint out of that. Pull a little ridge on the knife, and with that you can actually just use the corner of the knife just to settle yourself and get yourself sturdy. Do you see that? Just a bit too far to the left I was then. So when I'm doing it I can actually see here where I want to be. Now that is giving us a sharp edge straight away, and then I'll blend that a bit up to there so you can still see that blue. I don't want to lose this blue that we've got at the bottom. That's your uplighting, and I'll show you how to do that again soon. Put that down in there. So that's nice, and then I need a smaller ridge for this next part. So I'm just going to come in here, touch at the same height there, and you can actually, I'm only using the top edge of the knife there. You can actually use that to get your guide. Something like that. See that? Now I switch to the, make it a bit thicker like this one is. So just pop that up to about there. Like I say, it doesn't matter if it's perfect. Even like there, you see how I've just pulled down and it's too much lower down. That's irrelevant because I'll just go back in again with the silver and that. So I just want to sharpen this edge off a little bit. Just in there. So it's got a nice dark shadow down that edge. In fact, it's not right that. You've got to be quite accurate, but by using the heel of the knife and just resting it on there, it's surprising how accurate you can actually be with the knife. use that corner edge just there to sit it on the canvas. That's it. Right, so we've got this now at this stage. So what I'm wanting to do is I'm just going to create some of these effects by using just the knife with a little roll of paint on the end. Just a little roll of paint on the end of the knife. And then just in here I want one main one. So I'll start off from over here maybe. To about there. Touch with the heel. Get it as level as possible. And just slide it over to the end. And then let go. Oops, sorry, I knocked the camera then. But yeah, you have to pull it straight away from it. So you don't smudge. Or, you know, make any sort of sliding movements. Just like that. Touch. To there. Let go. Something like that. I can always neaten it up though. There's no worries. If you don't get it right first time, don't stress out. Because it's like stuff like this. You can just use the knife. And like that's a little bit too big for what I want. And you can just push up into that. Like so. And it'll just, it's not worked. Don't matter, if it don't work, usually you can just pick the paint off again. Just like so, you can go up with it like that and just pick the paint off, but I think it's just drying a little bit too fast for me, that's all. Right, so keep knocking the camera. Sorry about that, it's just so close because it's tiny now. These are tiny pictures and I'm having to zoom right into them, you see. So just get some of that silver again and just repair that just in there. It's no big deal. There's a lot you can get away with these city scenes. Now while I'm doing this demonstration I wanted to talk a little bit about the guy who it's a tribute for. It's a guy called Nicoli Tesla. Passed away now, but he actually revolutionised electrics. He created the AC motor and the AC electrical grid was all his doing, so with him to thank for that. And it was a really clever man, extremely clever man, like an Einstein really, but he gets talked about very little. Not many people know about him, so I just wanted to spread the word so people can look him up and find out what he was about. But we owe a lot to him. He created a lot of different inventions. Radio control, wireless energy. He was there as a pioneer. Just a shame that it didn't get listened to. Now where I've got it a bit too thick there, I'm not going to worry about that because it's easy enough to sort out. But I don't need to do it on camera. I can just do that afterwards. Just trying to show you basically the way that I do it. And then I run the knife through the paint on the very bottom edge again. And I'll come across and I'll do another one, a thinner one hopefully, because that's turned out too fat as that. Something like that, you can actually go right through it. There, that's better. And then here, I just want to touch, because you're in the dark already, and I just want to pull down, you see that? I'm going to touch in there, check that you've got the right measurement by looking frontwards. There. Put your heel of your knife down and there you go, it's done. It's that easy, that's how easy that is. So we're getting there now, and then what I've done is I've got all these yellows and greens and really vibrant greens and stuff. So we're going to go for the yellow at the moment, so I'm just going to get a bit of titanium white out on the palette. So I'm going to use white and lemon yellow together. Lemon yellow is very bright yellow. Very bright. So with that, I can just get some white, mix it with the yellow, I've run out of space on my palette now. And then with that, you can just run through with the top edge of the knife. See there? Just on the top edge of the knife. And then here and there, just touch a little bit of that yellow. Now there's a few different ways of doing these buildings, as you can see. They're all slightly different, but there's lots of beautiful things and wonderful techniques that I'm going to show you to make this job really easy. See there, I'm just tapping. There you go, you got 5 windows in already, all lit up. Just a few here and there. Some people are in, some people are out clubbing. Get a variety of stuff. Sweet. And same in here. What I want to do in here, because I did the same with this one. I just want to see if I've got some of that blue, and I'll put it with some white in there. So I want to make a really light blue colour. Well, it's not a light blue colour actually, it's quite dark. I don't want it too light, because it'll stand out anyway with it being on a dark canvas. And then I just want to run across with that. You see that colour tone? And with that, I'm just going to touch up in here halfway. There, so there, that side. Use the heel again to get accurate and get where you want it to go. Just there I want it to start. It's a bit too bright, is that? I could tell as soon as I put it on. That second that you put it on and you realise, get straight back in again and sort it out. There. It does need to be a lot darker than that. Right, so I've got a brush here with the dark on, so to remedy what's just happened. It's good that I make mistakes now and again with this, because it allows me to teach you guys how to repair it. See there? You can just use this black dark brush and just come back in again like that. There's a bit of light on edge of that now. I like that actually. Happy accident. Right, so where was I? I was using, that's it, the knife. Right, start again. So I touch there with the knife. Got to be accurate with this, and it's easier when I'm not having to show on camera obviously, but just there, and then with that I'm just going to gently pull it in halfway. See that? Just enough. It doesn't have to be a lot, and that alone there, that alone will give you some details and stuff. It's exactly what we're after. And then you can go back with the dark on the very small edge of the knife. It's important to have one of these knives if you're going to do these city scenes, because a lot of it's been done with two brushes and the knife, and that's it. Right, so I'll use some yellow and white. Resurrected what I did wrong. And just in here where it's dark, I've got the light side like here, which you can't really tell from this distance. My light bulb blew, so I've been stuck with a 60-watt bulb. I'll be changing it tomorrow though, and I'll let you have a look then. But I'm just going to go into the dark areas here and just put a few little windows with some light in. Just here and there. Don't need too many, but they're only dots. Literally, you're just putting dots in there with the end of the knife. And when you run out, you just apply a tiny bit more. And it's as easy as that, you know. It's really simple and straightforward to do. You've got all these other colours that I've been using too. I've been using purples, reds. As you can see, the reds on top of here and everything. I'm just going to do this one for you now. Here, I'll just do it in silver. It's a different way of doing them, but it's simple and straightforward. So, I mean, there's no need for you to do a big scape like this that I'm doing. You could just do a little part of the city or anything. But you see all these lovely details and that. When I have the proper light on tomorrow, it'll stand out much better. but the distant ones I've just left. But this one was a distant one, and I've actually given it something, you know, a few bits of detail. Same with this one. And then you leave the others so they're like sat in the mist, you know, way back. So anyway, I'm going to do some uplighting on this in a bit. But for now, I just wanted to do this one here. I'm just going to paint straight down with it silver. Down to there. Let it fish off at the bottom. Let it just blend away to nothing if you like. Get it as straight as possible. And just let it blend away to nothing in there at the base, and it'll disappear more or less. There. Just with a straight silver. There's no colour underneath this because I wanted it to be quite bright. And where that goes, it goes like so. Leaving a little bit of black just at the top, which contrasts really well with the sky and the tones that you've got in the sky. Now, still want to see a little bit of black on this, just on that right hand side edge, but like I said before, I can get away with using the knife to pick out them details. You can be quite accurate with it once you get your practice. See, that's why I did this first, so I could get practice doing it for when I'm actually demonstrating it, because it's always harder to demonstrate. I have to paint from different angles and all sorts of crazy stuff when I'm demonstrating, so it makes it harder. But there you go. So you stick that in there like that. Get the palette knife. I'm going to get some of the dark. Sometimes, I'll just show you the difference. Sometimes I pick up a ridge on the palette, and to pick up a ridge I'll have a flat load of paint like so, and then I'll pick up a ridge, just a ridge on the end. Other times I'll flatten the paint out and I'll just run the knife through it. Yeah? So I've just picked up I'm going to pick up a ridge now on the brush, just a ridge. Like I said, I am working in tight quarters here because it's small, the details, so forgive me for knocking the tripod all the time, but hopefully it'll pay off because you can see exactly what I'm doing. Touch it with the heel of the knife, just there. Hold your breath when you're doing that, and there, that gives you a nice sharp edge. And the knife's obviously going to do it straight as long as you keep it vertical and bring it down like so. It's always going to give you that lovely sharp edge. Now just up in here, the shadow for the building. Just using the knife to get the edge that I want there first. Put a bit of that light off. Put loads of lights, can you see, in the city all over the place. But this is only, it's hard to get the control, but after a little bit of practice it's much easier. It's all about using that heel to get yourself steady, and you can actually run it to different parts. Like if I want to work to the back there and pull the paint forward, I can just touch, change the angle and let go. You see that? Give you a lot of practice with the palette knife, this. Really good. And then you'll find that the dark paint I've just put on for that shadow will assist you later on when you're doing your, when I'm going to put the impressions of windows in there. Bring that out a bit more there. Something like that. Sorry, I just keep checking camera because of the blurring I've been getting problems with. It can just come out of nowhere and suddenly do it. Really need a new camera, to be honest. So I'm just going to run through the black paint, through the dark paint should I say, just on the bottom of the heel of the knife. And with that, in fact, I've got a bit carried away there. I'm going to run it through on the tiny bit of the knife. And again, just use the heel, just there, and I'm going to just touch and come off. See if it works. It's not picking enough of it up for it to stand out. So I'll just try and get a bit more paint on the edge. See if it works for me this time. It's been working perfectly for me while I've been doing it. For some reason now I'm actually demonstrating. There. And then another one. Just about there, I think. Yeah. And then maybe another one just in there, half half. Try and always make them similar size, each one. You can see this one that I've done at the side, I hope you can anyway, and these ones here. They're quite rough and ready, but when you do them, they can really give you that detail and added edge. I love it. It's really a lot of fun doing these paintings, that's for sure. Just take your time though. Do it over a space of 2 or 3 weeks, something like this. I mean, obviously I have to work a bit faster than that, but for you guys, there's no reason to be rushing it at all. Just enjoy it. Enjoy your painting. So I'm just going to work up from the bottom of there, and I'm going to go halfway up and use the edge of the knife. Because it's dark on there, you know, from the ones that I've just done. See that? It just gives you that indication for the windows. That's really easy. They're not windows, these are more like mirrors that you get on the new buildings, you know. There's a lot of new buildings that are just mirrored fronts. They've just got like mirrors on the front. And this silver effect, it just works a treat. And look at that. Got all them windows in. How long does it took? No time. You can actually just square it off a bit. Just there. Now if that happens, see that when it's just gone a bit too far over, don't worry about it. Try not to do it again, but what I'll do is I'll just put a light on that part of the tower. Add a light in there. There, something like that. Try do it there again. The width of the windows, something like. And then in here on this dark area, that's where you'll see the light from the windows. But you won't see much anyway, just a few little dots of yellow and crimson. So I'll just do that now for you while we're all looking. Don't get big blobs of it on there. Be gentle and get just enough so there's a tiniest amount. There. And make it sporadic when you're doing it. Don't have them all like in a row or have them all over the place. Here, there and everywhere. There. That's good. I'm just going to go run it up this edge now to get a nice edge up there. You just use the heel sometimes. Scared of cutting through the canvas, don't be. Canvas is tough stuff. They make tents out of it. It's really tough. There. So that's that one done. Happy? Now there's all these others that I've got in front, and I want to show you a little bit of the uplighting, how to do the uplighting. So I'll show you on this one here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get some of the blue and the white together, and with that just touch, forget this is even here, it's dried now, touch a bit of that. I always test it first just to see whether it's going to be any good, and that looks light enough, it looks spot on. A bit of that yellow, don't matter about that. There. Very tiny effects, but as you can see, after uplighting, it really makes the whole city glow. Yeah, Nicoli Tesla, he was like an amazing inventor. He invented so many different things and got them patented. Back in the Victorian times and that. If it weren't for him, a lot of our modern things that we've got now we wouldn't have. But he did, he ended up blurring into obscurity because people didn't take him serious. And if they had done, we'd have probably been leaps ahead. of our time. So yeah, check him out, study what he's about and what he's been doing in his past, because it's extremely fascinating. That's why I decided to use this demonstration as a way of promoting what he did. See, he actually used Niagara Falls and powered generators from Niagara Falls and used that to power a full city like this. And it was amazing. It must have been amazing the first time that could happen, because before that they had to use the old version, which was the DC, direct current. And when they were using direct current, you had to have like a power station here, you know, whereas Tesla designed the alternating current, which basically allows you to get electricity at any part on the grid, and you can have big distances between it. So therefore you didn't need as many power stations.